Thank you to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, where you can store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero safely on your iOS and Android devices. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I have an awesome guest here today, Douglas Tuman. So Douglas, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me on.
So I'm really excited to chat with you about a couple of different things. First of all, you are the host of Monero Talk, but you're also running for Congress, as we can see in the on the T-shirt there.
I'm not trying to hide it.
It's great to finally get to connect with you and just get to hear about your show and the Monero community and get to chat about that. But, also running for office, that's a really exciting thing. So maybe just to kick off, tell us a little bit about your journey into the Monero community and what it is about Monero and about that specific project that is so exciting to you.
Yeah, sure. So good question. So I started off as a Bitcoin person. I don't know where you currently stand in the crypto sphere. Actually, so the first coin I ever bought was actually Dogecoin when it first launched. So I had known about Bitcoin, but never stopped to do the research and understand what it truly was. I had always been interested in the concept of internet, like creating cash for the internet. Passively interested in it. I was always. I'm not a super techie guy, I'm a civil engineer and go to law. I went to law school as well. And I was passively interested in this concept of digital cash. So I heard about Bitcoin, but I just thought it was another failed attempt at the creation of digital cash because I had heard of other ones that have tried and failed before. They basically got shut down by authorities. So then this thing, Dogecoin, like, I guess, I felt like, I missed the Bitcoin boat. Let me just try to buy some of this Dogecoin and maybe I can, 100x my money overnight. And I bought it. I bought like $50 worth on, it was like Christmas Eve, 2013. And I woke up the next morning and I went to check my Dogecoin wallet, my online Dogecoin wallet, which is a big no-no in the crypto space. You don't store your coins on an online wallet. You gotta hold your own keys. So it was a quick lesson, and I learned that right away. I woke up, all my Doge was gone. And like millions of Doge were stolen by so many people. And I was like, this is weird. I'm like, this whole crypto thing, like, I don't get it. I'm like, there's got to be more to this technology. If people are just like, if their money's getting stolen this easy, I'm like, there's got to be more to it. So it actually ended up being kind of the best $50 I ever lost, because then I started Googling Bitcoin, learning about it, read the Satoshi white paper. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Started to comprehend these concepts of a decentralized system. Like there really was no pure decentralized system before that other than, the internet itself. And it just grabbed me and I became a Bitcoin guy. I was like, this is it. We've figured out, digital cash for the internet. And I was like, wait a minute, one major problem here. Every transaction that I send, as I'm trying to like get my friends into it, I'm like feeling a little weird about it because they could go look up my wallet and see how many Bitcoin I have. I mean, granted, it's my friends, but I'm still like, that's not right. I'm like, when I give them cash, when I give them $10, they don't then know like how much money is in my bank account. When I go to the store to buy something, the teller then doesn't know how much money I have in my bank account. I'm like, that doesn't seem like digital cash to me. That seems like something else. Seems like a good first stab at it. And that's when I then discovered Monero, which was basically trying to solve that problem and truly become, digital cash for the internet. So that's how I became a Monero person.
Got it. Now you run a show called Monero Talk, and so just maybe tell us a little bit more about that, what kind of content you're making on there, how long the show's been running, and what kind of guests you have on.
Yeah, so it's as you can imagine, it's very Monero focused. So every episode, essentially, we interview thinkers and doers in the Monero space. For the most part, it's all Monero people, and that's really it. I mean, I like to categorize it as not so much. We end up talking about Monero all the time, but really my true pursuit is understanding digital cash. And I currently believe Monero is the best at doing that. So I'm open to, other projects, kind of filling that role better than Monero, but so far I haven't seen any. Now, granted, I'm a bag holder of Monero, so I do have an invested interest, but I do try to kind of, be unbiased about it and maintain an open mind. And which I think is a great thing about the Monero community as well. So I don't know how involved you've gotten in Monero, but that's like one of the assets of the Monero community is how self-skeptical they are. They even have, I think it's every Sunday or Monday, Skepticism Sunday, I think it is, where we, post questions about Monero, like, hey, are we sure about this? Is it, as anonymous as we're saying? Is this broken? Is this working? So yeah, wait, what was the original question? But yeah, no, basically Monero Talk is everything Monero. We interview guests. I think we've been doing it for almost 2 years now, over 2 years. And we've kind of become the media outlet for Monero, which is a great honor, So we got to know the Monero community really well. We've been to a lot of events. And the thing about Monero, like Bitcoin, it's a true open source project. So you're surrounded by people, for the most part, that really believe in an idea, and they're trying to make this idea a reality. And the vast majority of them are truly motivated by trying to change the world, not so much trying to make the price of Monero go up. They just want the adoption of digital cash. So it's an amazing community in that respect.
I've really noticed that as I've gotten deeper into understanding Monero myself. It's been really cool to see the ethos and kind of the ethics of the community, and that, what Bitcoin, I think what a lot of people, the ideology it was built on, it seems like that similar ideology of self-sovereignty and freedom translate really well to the Monero community. And one thing that I think speaks volumes to Monero is, so on my show, I interview people from all spectrums of the cryptoverse, and I don't think that I've met anyone in crypto that doesn't have at least respect for Monero. Even Bitcoin maximalists, I think, are like, well, if I had to like one altcoin, I would like Monero, And I just think that's so cool, and I think that really speaks a lot to the Monero community.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't go easy on Bitcoin people though, So like, I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in the Bitcoin space. So like. There's a lot of people that claim to be in it for these right reasons. Oh, it's about censorship resistant, money. It's, it's, but then like, when you start to question them on, the difference between Bitcoin and Monero, like they kind of come up with reasons why it's okay that Bitcoin is completely traceable. And, so with Monero, I feel like people are like walking the walk, and they're like, you know what? This is a more pure project that's really trying to live up to the ideals of, the cypherpunks that were originally behind the invention of cryptocurrency to begin with. So yeah, I do have like, obviously Bitcoin is, without Bitcoin, none of these things would exist. The utmost respect for the Bitcoin project. It is how I got into, essentially how I got hooked on crypto. But I do think we need a project like Monero that really is trying to live up to the true ideals of what I think the purpose of cryptocurrency is.
And so what are your thoughts when people say that Bitcoin is already fairly anonymous, like it's pseudo-anonymous because of the mass amount of transactions? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think, it's pseudo-anonymous. That's the problem. And, so you have companies that are, funded with, some of the most highly funded companies in the space are these companies that are actively trying to essentially decode the chain, that are constantly analyzing the chain, and all the data is there, right? So it's not like they have to go find it and break encryption to get to it. It's all there laid out for them, and they're just putting the pieces together. So you could have one transaction, you could have a billion transactions. You have a big enough computer and enough people working on the problem, you could very easily untangle all those things. I mean, we're even worried about it in the Monero space, where we have essentially heavy encryption, obfuscating the chain. In Bitcoin, it's all laid out there. It's all completely 100% transparent. So I do think it's a big problem, and I don't think it's something that can easily be overcome in Bitcoin without changing the protocol. And I think Bitcoin has too much inertia, which, there's a lot of benefits to that. That's how they've gotten as far as they've gotten. But then it's kind of like, it's like the Titanic, they can't really pivot at this point, and they can't really adopt privacy on the protocol level. I just personally don't think that's going to ever happen.
So, speaking of privacy, what do you think are going to be the trends in privacy moving forward? Like, do you think that future government regulations will impact which cryptocurrencies people decide to use? And do you think we'll see a trend of more people moving to privacy coins like Monero as government regulation escalates?
Yeah, I think, there's going to be a few things pushing people towards that. I think people just realizing that, one of the things that pushed me towards it is when I started to see my value of Bitcoin go up, then I became more concerned about the fact that everybody would know how much Bitcoin I own and who I'm sending it to. So I think as you see people that are holding it, and then when they actually go to use it, it's great. It's digital gold. But as soon as you take it, as soon as you go to move it, the whole world knows. If Satoshi went to, spend $1 of Bitcoin tomorrow, the Bitcoin price would go to essentially potentially go to zero for a moment as everyone's like, oh my God, Satoshi moved his coins. That's a big problem. So as people go to actually use this stuff in the real world, I think that's going to be a realization like, wait a minute. Like I said, when I go spend $5, everybody doesn't know my exactly how much money I have and can then trace every other transaction I make. That's the other thing too. I give you Bitcoin, and with the right tech and analyzation, not only do you know how much I have, but then you could also see all other transactions I'm making. So I think people will start to realize that as they start to use it, and that will be kind of an awakening for people once it actually starts to be used as a real currency. I think people will realize it kind of has what I think is a fatal flaw in that it's traceable.
And that's a good point, because there are, obviously ways to try to help combat that. Like, you can generate new addresses every time you transact with someone, but the majority of people probably aren't going to do that. So you have to kind of think about also, like you're talking about, not just the what each individual person can do, but the aggregate, of the average consumer and what their actions will look like.
It's not built into it. It's like you can try to figure out, but even then, it's like you're probably not going to do it right. I mean, it takes, there's maybe some people that have figured, if you mined virgin coins and then you figured out how to, use the right mixers along the way, maybe you're okay. But that's not the majority of people.
So what are some of the easiest ways for people to get started with Monero and to purchase Monero? Like, are there certain wallets that you like, or what does that look like?
Well, we obviously love Cake Wallet. So Cake sponsors the Monero Talk show. But we loved Cake Wallet before Cake even began to sponsor the Monero Talk show. So Vic is the creator of Cake. And I was one of, I think, actually the first person to reach out to him when he created the iOS wallet. The whole Monero community was waiting for an iOS wallet. It was like one of the missing pieces, one of the missing pillars of the community that was not there yet. Because everybody, like, Monero was working, it was great, but like you really need to be kind of like good with your tech. You had to, run it on your computer. It wasn't like user friendly where you could just have an app on your phone. So they had an Android, but there was no iOS app. Vic came out of nowhere with Cake Wallet and launched it on the scene, and everybody was like very like apprehensive at first, like, can we trust this? And Vic really worked with the community from day one. I can tell you personally, because I went out and I met with him, because I was like, if I'm going to store my Monero on this thing, like, let me actually, because I knew he was New York based. I'm like, you know what? Let me go meet the guy. So I met with him, and we've been friends ever since. But he's really lived up to the ethos of the Monero community in keeping everything 100% open source, and all the decisions he makes really align with, the goals of what Monero is all about. So that's why I always recommend Cake. I do think it's a great pure crypto wallet, Monero wallet, and he's managed to make it user friendly, which was kind of a hard thing to do for Monero, because Monero is a little bit more complicated than Bitcoin, and he managed to do that. And so yes, Cake Wallet, I'd recommend using that. And then in terms of acquiring Monero, a lot of people like buy Bitcoin first or something else first, and they trade it into Monero. It's not as easy to get directly on exchanges, because like Coinbase never added Monero, which is like
crazy.
If anybody out there is kind of a crypto noob, you got to ask yourself, why has Coinbase never added Monero? And so you have to start to question Coinbase as a company and wonder what their actual true agenda is, right? When this true crypto that's like out there, that's been great, one of the first, and it's really doing it right, and they've never added it to Coinbase. really odd. So there's a lot of other exchanges that haven't added it. But I know Kraken, I think, is a way where you can get it directly with dollars. Obviously, through Cake itself, it has an exchange built in there. So if you have another crypto, you can exchange it for Monero. That's probably the easiest way. If you buy some other crypto and then you swap it into Monero.
Yeah, that's the easiest way I found too, is just to use Cake Wallet and their exchange feature. It's super quick, easy, and then you got your Monero.
Yep.
So I am really curious to hear a little bit more about this whole running for Congress thing. That's obviously that's a big life shift. That's a big thing to be doing. Yeah. So what is kind of your background with politics? Have you run for office before? Why are you choosing to run now? What is your platform? Tell us just a little bit more about that.
I'm from I don't know where are you from? New York?
Seattle.
You're from Seattle. Okay. I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island. So born and raised here. I've never ran for office, but I've worked for my local government since I was a kid, actually. So I've been a government employee actually for quite some time. And I worked my way up the chain. I became the commissioner of engineering. So I'm basically in charge of all the infrastructure for the town of Hempstead. The town of Hempstead is the largest town in the United States of America. It's a big part of Nassau County, and Nassau County is a big county right outside of New York City. And I've always worked behind the scenes on politics. So I've been involved in the local Republican Party. I've helped out with elections. I'm quite involved there. I've helped build technologies, tried to onboard. Republicans aren't really like the best at using technologies. So like me and another guy, we built technologies for them. He coded this whole thing up. I won't get into it, but we worked with the party for quite some time. And then this kind of presented itself as an opportunity. I saw that, this congressional seat, which is the 4th Congressional District, Kathleen Rice is the incumbent. And there really wasn't anybody who was looking to take her out and win that seat. So I stepped up to the challenge. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So many years ago, I worked on this thing called Gov Together. And I was right out of law school, and it was just a passion project. And basically what I was trying to do was improve representative democracy in the United States. So I was trying to get a congressperson to agree to use this platform. It was going to be a text-based platform where people can vote directly on issues, and then the congressperson would essentially promise to vote in Congress in accordance with that, or at least let that weigh heavily in how they vote in Congress. So didn't make much progress with that, other than met a lot of people, but never got a congressperson to agree to do it. And then so now I'm deciding to run for Congress myself, and that's a big part of my platform. So is improving representative democracy. So allowing constituents to interact directly with me. I'm informing, the idea being I would inform them of the issues. They would tell me what issues they care about. And then hopefully as a community, we would kind of reach a consensus on what I should then go advocate for them on their behalf on the floor of Congress. So that's kind of where why I'm driven to do it. I'm a big liberty guy. So yeah, I'm just kind of like a patriot at heart. Always trying to improve this country, improve representative democracy. And then that's a really a big reason why I love Monero on this ideological level, because I think Monero is free speech money. So people say that, they've said that for Bitcoin, but for Monero, that literally is what it's about. It's about being able to freely hold and control your own money. Nobody knows how much you have, and then spend it freely. And spending money, really is speech. It really is a way of, it's a way of being able to use your power, so to speak, to transpire change. So whether you're talking out there to the people, or you're using money in certain ways. And so I'm a big believer in this idea of free speech money, and having it be a tool that people can use. And I think it really aligns with the ideals of what this country is about. And as we transition to this digital age, we're seeing big problems, right? With Facebook, with the things that Edward Snowden has revealed, that everybody is essentially being tracked and traced all the time. And what is the solution? So there's like, two things we could do. One, we could, run for Congress and try to get things passed and like try to make sure that, the government doesn't overreach. But the other thing we could do is allow a technology to blossom that will solve the problem. So that technology, I believe, is, Monero, Bitcoin as well, but definitely Monero. So I'm a big, that's going to be a big part of my campaign, is advocating on its behalf on the floor of Congress as to why I think, it would be unconstitutional essentially to try to, regulate it in certain ways, and why I think it's, a technology that really aligns with the ideals of the country, which is, and allowing liberty to be preserved in the digital age. So
I feel like this conversation has come full circle with talking about government regulations and privacy in the beginning, and then here to this and how you are trying to, campaign and help bring about positive change within that arena. Because I really do think the more people we have, at the elected government level that understands the importance of not only just freedom and liberty, but also the importance of cryptocurrencies and the role that can play into it is really amazing. So, I mean, much respect to anyone who runs for office. I was a campaign manager once a long time ago. I know how much work that is, how much effort that is.
Yeah, so, a lot of work.
Truly,
especially
a lot
with
of
everything that's going on right now in the world. It's like, I mean, it's just, it feels like the world is falling apart. So I'm trying to step up and, be the person that I would hope I would be in a moment like this. So with everything that's going on, with the lockdown. So I've come out very early being a big proponent of reopening things. I don't know where you stand on that. So I'm sure there's a lot of controversy where you live as to whether or not things should be reopened. Over here, there's a lot of controversy. So I've been one of those people who've been like coming out very early, being like, we got to reopen things. I'm saying like we should be protecting the vulnerable, putting resources towards protecting the vulnerable. What we know who's like getting this virus and unfortunately not being, not surviving from it. And then we know who's getting this virus and being okay with it. So I'm a big proponent of allowing, the young and the healthy to just get back to normal. I'm not a big proponent of keeping, the economy shut down. I mean, small businesses are getting destroyed. An entire generation that's like, graduating college and ready to enter the workforce, like the trajectory of their lives is like being altered in a very serious way. I mean, I finished law school in 2008. I can feel for those people, and it's like, we got to open things back up. We got to think about the younger generation, and it's all, once again, and then I'm very passionate about it because of, big believer in free and open societies, right? So for me, it's like to lock down, our free and open society, it's like, it's got to be really overwhelming, and I think initially the reaction was okay, like, because we didn't really know what this virus was. But then it's like, you got to really overcome that burden to say why we should keep things shut down. So that's been a big part of my campaign as well. And like, things have just been crazy now with all the, the George Floyd thing, dividing people. I mean, that concerns me on a very deep level. I'm running on the Republican ticket. I'm also backed by the Conservative Party. And I'm just concerned that, there's this division that's happening between people. And actually my tagline is build a brighter future together. So as cheesy as that sounds, that was before the Corona thing. That was before, anything happened with the George Floyd. And now it's like, it feels more important than ever that we have to try to find common ground. And always going back to the liberty thing, I think that's where the common ground is. Like, so everybody believes in these ideas of, the American dream, and like, so when I talk to any people in my district, any constituents, I talk to them about that. Like, what can we do to get back to normal where we could all try to pursue the American dream together as neighbors. So I realize I'm talking quite a bit, but I'm a politician, so.
No, Doug, it's so great to chat with you and just hear about all of the great work that you're doing, not just with Monero Talk and all of the, awareness you're bringing to the Monero community, but also the work that you're doing with running for Congress. That's really just a very, honorable thing to do, to run for public office and to put yourself in that position and to be really working for the people to, like you said, bring people back together and to promote the American dream and the type of world that we want to be building. And so, Doug, it's just been so awesome to chat with you and get to learn more about everything you're up to. I really appreciate it. Where can people go to find you online, find Monero Talk, find your campaign, things like that?
Yeah, so it's at Douglas Tuman on Twitter. It's douglastuman.com for my campaign website. I would say those are the two main things. And then obviously at Monero Talk on Twitter. And on YouTube, it's Monero Talk.